hope you've had lots of fun. I think it's gone really fast, hasn't it? And I expect it's gone very fast for some of you because it's very nearly the end of the school holidays and you'll be going back to school very soon. I know sometimes it feels as if you don't want the school holidays ever to end. But when you get back to school, you get to see loads of friends, don't you? Sometimes they're friends that you haven't seen all through the summer. But I wonder, when you go back to school, do you have a best friend? Most of us have one friend who we really close to, and you spend a lot of time with them and you talk to them about everything, don't you? Well, I have a story to tell you about two boys. Now, one of these boys was called Nicholas, and the other boy was called Ben. And Nicholas and Ben were very best friends. They had more or less grown up together. They were more or less the same age. And they stayed at one another's houses. They played in one another's gardens. And their mums were best friends too. But then, sadly, for Nicholas particularly, Ben's family moved to Australia. Now, you can't actually get any further away than Australia, because if you start going any further, you start coming closer to Scotland. So Ben went as far away as it was possible to go. Nicholas was sad. Ben was sad. But you know what? That didn't stop them being best friends. They might not have been able to see one another all the time, but they could still FaceTime, they could still Zoom, they could still write to one another. And very sometimes they even managed to visit one another, either from Australia with Ben or out to Australia with Nicholas. And they went on being friends, not just for a year, not just for 5 years, but I can tell you that Nicholas and Ben are still best friends. And this picture is Nicholas with his wife and his baby Reuben. And this picture is Ben, all the way out in Australia, and he has a baby too. And his baby with his partner was born very shortly after Nicholas and Andrea's baby. Now, Nicholas and Andrea had called their baby Reuben. When Nicholas asked Ben what he was going to call his baby, you'll never guess. Even though Ben didn't know what Nicholas was going to call his baby, Ben called his baby boy Reuben. So those two best friends, who actually hadn't seen one another for a few years, were such close friends that they even called their babies the same name without knowing it. How strange is that? But it is lovely to think all those hundreds of miles away, Ben and Nicholas have remained friends all through their lives up till now. So now I'm going to tell you a story about a little girl. Now, this little girl had a best friend too. And it was a best friend that she talked to, that she knew was with her all the time, and she really enjoyed being in the company of her best friend. And her mum and dad used to come and meet her best friend too, and it was all lovely. And then the girl grew up, and she still thought about her best friend, but she had sort of moved away from her best friend. She didn't speak to her best friend as much, and she didn't think about her best friend as much. Now, I can tell you that her best friend was very sad about that, because her best friend really loved her. Well, the girl grew up even more, and she began to think, maybe that best friend is just ordinary, and I think I'll just get on with my life without that best friend. And that's what she did for some years. She didn't really think about her best friend at all, and she did just get on with her life. But her life wasn't quite as much fun as she thought it would be without her best friend. But she went on thinking, I can just live on my own. I don't need a best friend. And she grew up and got married. And she even had a little boy. And then she had another little boy. And when that little boy was about 2, one of the little girl who'd grown up, other friends, said, why don't you talk to your best friend anymore? I think you're really missing your best friend. Think about it for a while. Don't you think you'd like to go back and talk to your best friend? Well, the little girl who'd grown up looked at her boys and thought very hard. And she thought, I do want to talk to my best friend, but I haven't talked to my best friend for a long time. I don't think my best friend will want to listen to me. And the little girl who'd grown up felt very sad. But that night, after she'd thought very long and very hard, she closed her eyes and she said to her very best friend, I'm so sorry that I wasn't listening to you. I'm so sorry that I moved away from you. I don't know if you'll want to be my friend anymore, but I really want to be your friend. And I want my 2 boys to know all about you, because I think you're the best friend that anyone can have. So even if you don't want to listen to me, I hope you'll listen to my 2 boys. And that night, the little girl who'd grown up could tell in her heart that her best friend said, I've been waiting here for ages for you. I'm always waiting for you. No matter where you went, no matter who you spoke to, no matter what you thought, I was watching and waiting and loving you. I will always be your best friend. And you know what? I'm sure you've guessed by now that the best friend is Jesus. But I wonder if you've guessed who that little girl who grew up was. That was me. Those 2 boys, one of them is the boy you've already seen with his baby Reuben, Nicholas. And the other boy, the first boy, is Richard. And Richard is a grown-up man now, and Nicholas is a grown-up man. And now I have a grown-up daughter and 2 grandsons. And I always want all my family to know that they can't have a better friend than Jesus. They can't have a closer friend than Jesus. And even if there's a while when they don't talk to their best friend, to Jesus, Jesus is never going to leave them. Jesus will be watching over them and loving them just as he watched over me and looked after me even when I wasn't talking to him. And maybe when you're older, you might have a time when you don't talk to Jesus. And I want you always to remember that you can turn round and talk to Jesus anytime, because he's your best friend now and in the future and always. At the end of this holiday, I hope that you will always know that Jesus' love follows you wherever you are, and he will never, never let you go. He's your best friend, just like he's my best friend. And since I let Jesus be my best friend, my life is so much better. Because having a best friend is better than anything else if the friend is Jesus. So God bless, and I will be praying for you all when you start school again. Bye.